In this video we're talking about the Forster Accu-Ring. This ring is basically our standard lock ring that everybody's come to love, the cross bolt that doesn't tighten into the threads. But we've anodized it and laser marked some reference marks on it in thousandths increments. So each mark represents a thousandths movement of the die through the lock ring. When you're setting this up, you're going to set your die up very similarly to how you set your die up with a standard lock ring, with just a couple changes. So first you're going to dial that die down till it just contacts the shell holder, and then you're going to back that off, and rather than leaving your lock ring semi-loose or a little tight, you're going to actually just go ahead and completely tighten that lock ring. Part of this is because we've got that slot in there and we want to be sure those marks are at the same spot each time that we're checking it. Once we have that tight, we can go ahead and make a reference mark with a fine marker, kind of in line with one of the reference marks on the die. When you're making that reference mark, make it to the left of this milled slot here. By that initial adjustment of just hitting the shell holder, likely we're going to have to dial that die down deeper into the press. So this is going to help avoid you crossing over that milled slot, so you can kind of always have lines to use. Once we have it retightened, then we can resize our case, check that shoulder bump with our datum dial tool or other headspace gauge checker, and then see where we need to go. It's important to know that even though these lines represent a thousandths movement of the die through the lock ring, it may not always represent a thousandths movement of shoulder bump in your case. There's lots of factors that come into play: the ductility of your brass, the case lube being used. The reference marks are just there to kind of help you have some consistency or some idea of where you left and where you then moved to get that shoulder bump that you want. Some secondary uses of the Accu-Ring would be on, say, like your standard bench rest cedar dies, your non-micrometer type cedar dies. Rather than just moving the seating stem through, you've got somewhat of a poor man's micrometer adjustment right there that you could actually just advance the entire die through using that same practice of loosening and retightening that ring. The main idea is to try to make your reloading experience and setup of your dies easier at an affordable price, and we feel like we've done that here with the Accu-Ring.